where I'm at with my balls and my guns out. And then I said, you can stand behind me if you're afraid.
Did he hit you back?
No, I don't think he will. Fuck the government, by the way. Like, you don't owe these people. They're your fucking employees. We are not subjects of a fucking kingdom. We are citizens of a constitutional republic. Fuck these motherfuckers. You don't owe them any of your money. You don't owe them any of your fucking liberty. God damn it, man.
That's nuts, man.
It's pretty nuts, but the only reason it happens is because people allow it to happen. That's it. Like, every time you tell these motherfuckers no, and to be honest, this guy should file a civil complaint and sue the ATF and the Delaware State Police for...
They think they know it. I've been praying for somebody to save me. No one's heroic in my life, don't even matter. I know it, I know I'm hurt deep down, but can't show it. I never had a place to call my own. I never had a home. Ain't nobody calling my phone. Where you been, where you at, what's on your mind? They say every life precious, but nobody care about mine. I've been on the low, I've been taking my time. I feel like I'm out of my mind.
Welcome back to the Death by Tyranny podcast. It's been a little bit. Had a couple changes, new lens. People said this was an amazing lens, right? And I slightly have to disagree. And I think you can probably already tell why. The eye tracking autofocus is absolute garbage. I don't know if it's even usable for the applications I would use it for. So hopefully there's a firmware update and we can get that taken care of. But besides that, we'll try to struggle through. I didn't buy this lens for podcasting. It's a little too close for my liking. It's actually halfway across my desk and it's still right up my ass. I bought it for auto photography, so we'll see how that goes. I'm just trying to find my lane, because I don't know how much longer I can work for other people. I've the older I get, the more agitated I get with people, and it's not my youth and my ignorance, because then I would just be judging people before I even gave them a chance. And I'm not going to say I don't do that anymore, but especially, people you work with, you tend to spend a lot of time with them. At least I do. I work 12-hour shifts. I work quite a bit of time with other people. And I just, the more that happens, the more I just want to, not be around people. I mean, it's to the point where you can't even talk to your family or friends without them, PC checking you. And I'm just fucking over it. It's one of the reasons why I started this channel, is because I was tired of people telling me that I couldn't say or do certain things because it would offend people. And it seems like the COVID tyrannical overreach just multiplied that by 1,000. And quite a few years back, 10 years ago, I'd say, at least that was when I started paying attention to it, I noticed that people were definitely talking about what was going on, about how our society was pretty much degenerate, and the flooding in of immigrants who just don't care about a civil society. A lot of them don't even know what that looks like. And I guess, a lot of them coming from Mexico and South America, you can say that they semi have been taught the Western ways of Western society, or however you want to say, but they have their own version of it. And it's definitely not the American version. And so it slowly starts to change, and I started listening to people that were telling you what the consequences of letting things like this happen to your society would bring. Now, of course, they called all those people racist and Nazis, bigots that didn't know what they were talking about. But the further and further we get into this degenerate society with no borders, no consequences for many, only consequences for the people who want to maintain that civil society, the more and more this happens, the more they look like future tellers. Not racist, but just pointing out factual things that happen to societies when you don't keep them civil, when you don't protect your youth from degeneracy. What is inevitably going to happen is happening. In many ways, it has already happened. And one of the things that the people who put these kinds of things into societies on purpose, by design, one of the things that they will try to do is make sure that the youth, once they have been turned, that they cannot go back and remember who they were, where they come from. And the only evidence that they will ever find from where they came from will be negative. And we've seen this for a long time as well. Tearing down of statues, making sure that the very first thing that you hear about George Washington is that he owned slaves. He was a racist. We never bring up any of the negative things that people from outside of American history have done unless they took part in some way of creating the Western world. And even those who aren't of European descent that molded in some shape or way the future for the Western world, if they weren't of European descent, you still cannot find out these negative things, or at least isn't the first thing that you're smacked in the face with when you read about these prominent figures in our history. Martin Luther King is one of them. Most of the good things that Martin Luther King said was plagiarized or just factual. Something and everything that everybody had already known. Now, of course, some people in that day wanted things to be different. And that's why you had that conflict. That's why you needed people to stand up and say things to make sure that America went down the path that we went down. But you don't hear about the plagiarizing of speeches from Martin Luther King. You don't hear about the adultery of Martin Luther King. Yet he is plastered in more places than our founding fathers. A man trying to put some kind of righteousness in the world, all of his misdeeds are pushed to the side, not because of the efforts and the strides he made in our society, but just the color of his skin. And the total opposite is happening to white people in America. And we can't even have conversations like this without the person arguing on behalf of white people being called names. So we never get too far into that conversation and how to resolve it. Instead, because most white people that would want to participate in this conversation are civil. They get to a point in the conversation where they're either embarrassed or they don't like the names that they're being called, and they step away from that conversation. If they are brave enough to maintain their ground and would still like to go forward and try to resolve this issue that we have in America, well, then mainstream media, along with several groups that have way more power than they should, will make sure that that person is outcasted and blacklisted and banished to only be heard of from the darkest of spots on the internet. This has happened to quite a few people. I can't say myself included because I was never given the opportunity, and if I was, it was very shortly taken away from me. After you receive several strikes on YouTube and other platforms, they are no longer going to try to push you towards the forefront of new creators. Try to help you gain your following and your reach with their algorithms. They make sure that your channel is put on the back burner. But what I really want to talk about is this erasing. The youth in America, in my opinion, is gone. They will never know the America that I knew. They will never know how great America used to be. They will only ever know that America was never great and that its striving for potential has not even begun to happen. And not only that, but this is by the hands and the fault of white people. So for the same reason that these civil people that want to have this conversation step away from the conversation, the white youth that has already been brainwashed doesn't even want to look back and see where they came from. See how great America used to be. And for the ones that will, our statues are being taken down. Our forefathers are mocked at every turn. Christianity at this point is almost laughable. It almost seems like it's there just to be made fun of or outcasted, and those same Christians that should be actually offended. Oh, I forgot to turn my phone on silent. Should be actually offended, run to their strip mall churches and hide. And to me, I don't know how we can honor that kind of religious following. Not saying that I don't believe in Christianity, I do. I just don't believe in the way that the people who say they follow Christianity have been going about things. This isn't God's fault. It's humanity's fault. Probably in large part because of the way society is going. And the few little things that white culture might hold on to, we have been losing for almost a decade. Many would say that horror movies, it's something small. Something small, but something we still kind of held on to. I have no issue with other people than white people making horror movies. That's not the issue here. It's when you just flat out copy, and not copying it to try to make the movie better, not trying to push the bounds of the story that was created, but just to erase the history of what was there before. And if you would have asked me even yesterday, with the things that are going, that some of our classic horror movies in the United States or just even abroad would fall victim to the same outcome as most Disney movies have these days, I would say probably inevitably, but I don't know about now. In large part, minorities have an issue with horror movies because they seem to always be the first ones to be killed off. There's even been minority Hollywood groups that make fun of this, that make movies, make parodies about this. And that's okay too. And then you have non-white people that make horror movies that reflect how their culture perceives things. And I believe that that's a good thing. But flat out copying to try to erase the history that was there before, that's not okay. Even shitty social media stars stick to a better code of ethics than that. If you have an idea that's original and somebody takes it upon themselves to do the same thing, as long as they put their style in it, switch it up, move some things around, and took some kind of inspiration from what you are doing, that's okay. But to flat out copy, that is not. And these are YouTubers, Instagrammers that follow this code of ethic. But for whatever reason, these people that are making these movies in Hollywood, I don't even know if you can just flat out say who they are anymore. But I think we all know the people in Hollywood that make these movies. They try to steal and destroy the Christian Western world. And so far, in my opinion, they have succeeded. That's why we call it a Judeo-Christian society and not just a Christian society. But I will try to, just for the skill set purposes, I will try to see if I can show you what I'm talking about here. So, Exorcist, when it first originally came out, set the bar for horror movies. Not only did it set the bar, but it completely rewrote how people even seen that genre of movies. Linda Blair is the face of The Exorcist. And they annihilated it. They're blatantly copying it, making a mockery of it, as if the legacy of that movie doesn't matter. And this is just a small example. It's just movies. But still, it sums up exactly what is happening in America right now. So, let's see if we can get the volume on this.
Good day. Hey, be home by dinner.
I love you. Good morning, Mr. Fielding.
Morning, Catherine.
And here are your daughters, Angela and Catherine. It's about 7 hours ago, and that's the last information we have.
Catherine!
Angela?
If you can hear this, we love you. Please come home.
Hey, you found her? What are you and Catherine doing out there in those woods?
You were just walking and walking. That's all I remember.
Angela, can you tell your dad how long you were gone?
A few hours.
Baby, you've been gone 3 days.
What'd you say?
I didn't say nothing.
Thought I heard you say something.
Hey, baby. You okay?
Wherever those girls went, they brought something back with them.
The body and the blood of Jesus Christ.
Body in the blood? Body in the blood?
Catherine.
Body in the blood. The body in the blood. The body and the blood.
Catherine.
The body and the blood. The body and the blood.
Have you ever seen anything like this?
Mommy?
No, but there are people out there who have.
You have some experience with possession.
Yes, more than I'd like.
I believe you can help get our girls back.
Exorcism is a ritual. Every culture, every religion, they all use different methods. It's going to take all of them.
Don't be scared,
We've met before.
Mother. Make it stop! It's hurting!
What did you do?
Yeah, so I don't know if you've seen that little push of their politics there. Oh God, my cat was in the window. This could be bad. We're trying to do a podcast here, my guy. Can you get out of here? Get down. Go on, get out of here. But I don't know if you've seen that little push of their politics there, but originally in The Exorcist, it took a priest, right? It ended up possessing the priest, but there's a huge Catholic influence in these movies. Yet with this new one, they're talking about it being in all religions and it taking all the religions to beat it. And it doesn't really seem like a huge deal. Shit. Doesn't really seem like a huge deal because they just kind of slide it in there. But they did that on purpose. They did it so much on purpose that they put it in the trailer. They want to... It's such a large part of The Exorcist that they can't just not have it and still be The Exorcist. They can't accomplish what they're trying to do without some type of Catholicism in this movie. So what they're doing is they're putting it just briefly in the movie to say that it's not enough. And it pisses me off. And you can say I'm reading too much into it, but it's not just that. It's not just them saying that Catholicism isn't enough in the Exorcism series anymore. But they're taking and they're making the main characters not white. like in most Hollywood movies nowadays. Little Mermaid, Cinderella, every fucking thing under the sun, everything you scroll across on Netflix. So they're doing this on purpose. They're trying to make sure that we know that our heritage, our culture doesn't matter. In fact, I would be willing to say that a large portion of the youth nowadays couldn't even explain to you what white culture is without, it being some kind of big ass joke that might tell you pumpkin spice and Karens, but that's about it. So just when you thought that it couldn't get any worse, just when you thought that the erase of anything good that white people have ever done had been trampled on, and maybe we would have some crumbs left over, they're making sure that we don't even have that. And I was trying to talk to my wife about this, that you can go back to the very first podcast I ever did. I told you that it was going to continue to get worse. That the people that are doing all of this, the people that enjoy the way America is going, they're not going to stop. They don't want equality. They don't want communism. They want revenge. Except nothing was ever done to them, so they don't even know what they want revenge for. Now they can say things like slavery and they're owed money because their great grandfather probably owned slaves themselves, but that's beside the point. But they themselves don't know what that felt like. So they're just manifesting pain. And just like anything that isn't real, you can just, it's almost like when you get inside of your head and you make things seem worse than what they are. You can continue to go down that path forever, and things might seem impossible because you don't know the future. Well, this works the same way. You don't know that pain. You don't know how it was to experience that. And we have evidence of the people that did experience that and how they felt and how they decided to continue and better their lives. And it's not the same way that the immigrant and minority youths today are deciding how they would like to carry on about this discretion in American history. And it is for that reason that since killing people isn't legalized in the United States, not just flat out murder anyway, that they have to destroy everything that is white culture, because that's not actually killing someone. But it is, though. Slowly but surely, our youths are killing themselves. And it's because they don't think that they have a purpose anymore. And what they are and what they stand for, even though they can't help it, is evil. And so when you have a country that is 75% white, doesn't have a purpose, and just is like spiraling and being lost, you're going to have a slip and decline in the evolution in making that country great. And this is a twofold. Now, the same people that have done this can point and say that America being 75% white is a bad thing, that they're the ones destroying the country. So, that's where we're at. Quite frankly, if this is 4D chess, we've already lost. I don't know that there is a way to come back from this. And because their thirst for revenge will never be met, at some point they will turn the tables. And not the tables of now and what is reality, but what is in their head. What they perceive and what they think should be done about what happened in America. So if minorities were made slaves and hung from trees, then that should happen to white people. And this is the only way to fix that wrong. And quite frankly, there is quite a few outspoken, members of the black community that will actually just flat out say this, that white people are evil and they need to die. That we should be kicked out of the country. Quite a few of them. And because our country is so lost, instead of that being hate crime, that being hate speech, we're letting these people into our colleges to be professors, to teach our white youth just how evil, just how much they should be punished. And so there is going to come a day, if we don't do anything about it, if we cannot course correct what is happening in this country, that we will be slaves and that we will be hung from trees. And that's just the way it is. And until we reach that point, I promise you, it's going to hurt all people of European descent, but it's going to hurt the youth the most. Because they're going to feel like they're evil, they were born evil, and there's nothing they can do except extinguish themselves. And that's an unfathomable kind of pain. And the people who are causing it don't care. They just wish to increase the intensity of this pain. And like I said, we can't have these conversations anymore. I guarantee you, if you showed people just what I've said in 20 or 30 minutes, they would say that everything that I've said today is racist. That it's wrong. And it's just another way for the white man to hold minorities down. And that's fucking disgusting. It is absolutely wrong that we can't even have these conversations, let alone try to resolve the issues. So, and no, just for the people thinking it, I don't believe there will be a race war. I think there was, and it was one-sided. One side of the race war didn't know we were at war, and we lost. Just think about that. Think about how we can course correct this. Because two wrongs don't make a right, because that's exactly what they're trying to do. That is their game plan. So as much as the protector in me would be willing to go to war over this, it's just not the right way, and it wouldn't make anything better. But there's always a way. With that, guys, I love you guys. Let me know what you think about the new camera. I don't think I'm going to use this for podcasting. The only reason I even did a podcast today is because I had everything set up. And I've been messing with it all morning, and it's done nothing but just absolutely piss me off. If anybody's out there that's really, techie and nerdy and knows a lot about firmware updates, shoot me a DM or an email or something. I don't fucking know. If you're that techie and nerdy, then you probably know how to get a hold of me. Because I need to update my camera and my lens, and I can't for the life of me figure it out. I don't know if it's because I'm trying to do it on a Mac OS or whatever it's called. All the tutorials on YouTube are done on Windows. So I don't know, and it says that there's a Mac version, and I downloaded that, but it didn't work. It's saying it can't find my camera, it can't find the lens, it's fucking retarded. So if you can help, you want to help, get a hold of me. With that, guys, I love you guys. God bless. America first. Peace out, y'all.